Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Daenerys 6 on deck. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Never had a bad day in my life.
Wow.
Last Dany chapter of the book. I think I said this last
Spoiler.
time. So it's not a spoiler. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but I think I said it in the last chapter.
It's a huge spoil. It kind of ended like you won't see me again.
Yep, my story's over. I'm not actually worried about Westeros after all.
Yeah. So, I'm going to stay here and rule. Oh.
Synopsis is this chapter's kind of the recap after the... Like, we learn a lot about what happened off-page, right? So we basically took the city, the last of the three cities, Marine, off-page, and then she kind of just, like, deals with... She holds court one time. Yeah. Deals with people coming.
She talks through it later, but where we left her last was the whole... well, we found out it was Barristan, right? Because she got attacked out on her own, and then she sent Jorah and the rest of the dudes in the sewers is where it left off, right? Like, that was kind of where it was ending.
Because she found out Jorah was informing on her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, so this picks up after the success of that sacking. Yep. Yeah, so she holds court, deals with some random people, deals with Barristan and Jorah, and then just does like kind of some thinking at the end, and kind of comes to the conclusion, I ain't going anywhere. It's the Leo meme, but not the one we normally do of him pointing. It's the one from Wolf of Wall Street. I ain't fucking leaving. It's kind of Dany at the end of this. And they're like, no, we really want to leave. And all the fans are also like, Dany, we don't give a fuck. Like, come on, let's bring you over to where the rest of our people are. Let's not hang out over here anymore.
Yeah.
At least personally, I'm in the same camp as her advisors. Like, get the fuck out of here. Go to Westeros where everybody else is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that's how we feel, but I think it's pretty smart. Like, to at least, like, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, especially, we'll get there. But I think it's smart to pump the brakes just a tad.
Sure. Well, yeah, and there's they need to gear up, right? Like, and she needs to learn too. Like, we'll get into all that.
She kind of says that towards the end too. Time won't hurt.
Yep. So, all right, we open the chapter with her hanging out on top of the Great Pyramid with her dragon. So that's kind of like, oh, she sacked the city. We just kind of learned that right away. And she starts by just thinking of like how high she is and how lonely she is, and compares the feeling to how the gods feel. So I thought it was an interesting open.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like, okay, get off your high horse. You're like, well, she's pretty much comparing herself to a god, right? Like a little bit of Dany god complex over here. I will say,
this is strange.
Anything else? The timeline for this one, and again, I'm going off a crowdsourced thing online.
Timeline doesn't matter.
Dany's way behind everybody else. Like, Jon hasn't climbed the wall yet, basically where this is.
Okay.
I think the Red Wedding saying, just happened like a week ago.
Like, with the like that, he hasn't climbed
the first time coming over,
Okay. Exactly. Yeah. We're a month before the new year, which is like a month before Joffrey's wedding, so a month before Joffrey's death, right? Like, we're pretty far back.
If timeline really never mattered, it's Daenerys. In relation to...
because she's so... that's what I'm saying, like, so disconnected. It's just kind of weird. You think, like, a month has gone by. Like, you'd think, like, in some of these chapters in King's Landing, we'd be getting news like, yo, somebody has taken all three of the major cities in Slaver's Bay. Like, some of that news should be getting to Westeros relatively soon if this has happened.
Major world events are happening elsewhere,
And news travels slow, so it might not be a month that it takes to get there. I think it took a little bit longer for Dany to get news of, like, Robert's death, but... kind of interesting. I never really thought about it before, but that might be getting there.
They got other shit going on.
Yeah. But okay.
But so I didn't think it was that weird that she, like, if you ever like on top of like a mountain, you're like, oh, I'm on top of the world. Like, I didn't like I didn't think she was like, oh, I'm the best ever. Like, I'm basically.
Well, for sure. I think a lot of people say that like nature gives you the same like type of like religious, like spiritual feelings as like being in like a crazy cathedral and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what this is, like being on top of a mountain, looking out over everything, like being on like a beach by yourself, like looking out over the ocean. It's one of those types of moments.
Yeah. And I think it's just like a lonely feeling too. It's like, I'm just by myself, really, because you can't trust anybody, which is where we kind of get into, big part of the chapter.
Yeah, I think we're kind of like toying with two main themes of the chapter. Like you're saying, exactly like you're saying. The loneliness is the one. The other one is, I think, like kind of comes more obvious later, is the whole like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I guess like actions and intentions don't always line up, right? She starts like later when she hears about the Mad King, she's like, fuck, is everything I've been doing mad, right? Like,
Yeah.
And that's not really a question at the beginning, but some of the stuff we hear about at the beginning is pretty mad. Like she crucifies all these people. There's literally just like buckets of cut off hands and dicks, and there's bodies that they have to move out of the way so she can get into the door. You know what I mean? So
like the city is infested with flies because of how many dead people and corpses are everywhere. Yeah, I mean, she really has been leaving like a trail of death behind her, right? Like the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what she's grappling with here.
It catches up to her kind of in this chapter, yeah.
Yeah.
So she does bring up kind of the different gods, right? Let's just go through them really quickly. There's the 7 of Westeros, the 2 that the red priests follow.
And she's not only thinking of the different gods, but like the main like tenets of each one, right? So we have the 7, because she's thinking like, first off, she covers the god that Missandei, her like young scribe translator that she got from Astapor is telling her about, like, oh, where I come from, this like peaceful island called Noth, we believe in the Lord of Harmony. He's our god. He's basically the only god. He created everything, and everything's peaceful because of him. And Danny's like, damn, that sucks. That would be lonely.
There's fucking butterflies that just deal with everything. Like,
it's interesting. She kind of says like, oh yeah, our place is protected. Like if conquerors come to conquer us, they die from like some disease carried by these butterflies is kind of how I take it. But Danny's like, that doesn't stop slavers from doing a quick drive-by and picking you all up and throwing you on ships, or else you wouldn't
just
be
can't
here.
stay for too long.
Well, there's probably just like no reason to conquest. Like the slaves is the best thing about, like they can already do that, right? Like
I thought you said something about like conquest like just doesn't work. Like they literally conquerors die if they come here.
I know, Nelson, but I'm sure that's like, is that real?
Is it Noth in the show, Nelson, or wasn't it like Nath or Narth?
She says it here, and I don't know. She says it's Naath, however you would say that.
Yeah.
But the main point of that god is
peace.
He's like a solo god by himself, and Danny's like, that would be too lonely. It would suck to be a god like that.
Yeah, so I actually have a note on that one because it sounds a lot like Genesis from the Bible.
I feel like you can take like aspects of like Christianity or like Catholicism and put them in like each of these, right? So like this does sound a lot like Genesis because this guy created the stars and the moon and then all the people and all the stuff, right?
Well, that's the line, and the creatures that dwelt upon it. Like Genesis is literally like, sun, stars.
Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. He's making all those different things.
And then all the creepy crawly things. Yeah, like it was. Yep. It was just one note. I thought it was.
But then the next one that you mentioned is the Faith of the 7, and she's like, this is like there's 7 gods, but the priest will tell you that they're all different aspects of the same God, right? And that's like the Holy Trinity, right? That you have that aspect of things, right? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
They're 3 aspects of the same God, right?
The Holy Trinity, yeah.
Yeah. So like you had that aspect of the Faith of the 7. Then you go to the next one. The red priests believe in 2. She's like, I don't understand that. That's confusing. The whole multiple aspects thing. Yeah. Then the next one is 2 gods that are eternally at war.
God and the devil type of thing.
And she's like, oh, that would just be tiring, like just to be a war forever. And again, I think there's aspects of Christianity there with exactly what you're just saying. You have the God and the devil, right? The 2 opposing forces.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So yeah, she just thinks about all the ones. She does leave out the old gods.
The old gods, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
We don't know how much she knows about them, though, right? Like, she wasn't around over there that much.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. It kind of, we learn, like she says here a few times, it's all from Viserys, what she knows.
Yeah. So, talking Nath, then, basically, what Nelson said, like, it's hard, like, there's something weird with the butterflies, like, you can't live there if you're not from there. And she promised to take Missandei home, and she was like, nah, I'm chilling. I'm good here.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Doing all right.
You're nice to me. But yeah, so the thing I was saying earlier, many conquerors had sailed on Noth to blood their swords only to sicken and die. So I take it it's kind of like, didn't that happen like when invaders came to like the New World for the first time? You just like have diseases that you never were exposed to before.
That's fair. Yeah. Like they could be getting malaria or something. I guess that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like to believe this butterfly story, like you were like the butterflies are getting everybody sick.
Just the butterfly effect.
Maybe it's mosquitoes. Maybe it's like
it's
the water. Maybe it's I know, but they're attributing it to this butterfly. That's all I was getting at or trying to say earlier.
Sure, but if you go back in history and people showed up in the New World and started dying, are they saying, "Oh, we have bacteria"? Or are they saying, "Oh, they have this weird firefly. We've never seen it before"? You know what I mean?
Definitely the fireflies.
When you don't have science, you just contribute it to random natural things you can, but it doesn't really matter. I just think it's one of those cool things about Noth that I think is cool, and something they do in the show kind of bugs me, but I don't want to talk about it because it fringes on spoilers.
Yeah, you can't. It's a spoiler. All right, so then she got dressed. The only real note, like she got a nice purple dress on and some dope high heels. And she just looks at herself and like, is this what a conqueror looks like? Is this what am I doing? And I'm still dressed like a little girl. That's what she said.
Yeah, she thinks this a few times. Like, I feel like a little girl. I look like a little girl. Like, it's hard to make. Sometimes I feel like I'm just acting like a queen. Like, kind of like a little imposter syndrome.
Well, and that's the first part of kind of what I was saying earlier about why she needs to stay here, right? Like, she needs to grow up.
Yeah.
And she's finally realizing that, like, I guess, that she's... Like we talked about before, all these actions have consequences. Now it's time to actually stop and think about some of them. She had been, kind of ignoring them forever.
Yeah.
And now here she is surrounded by him. So it's also a good opportunity to learn and everything here where, like, the city is freshly fallen and it can be hers.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the only important part really about her outfit, I thought, was that she is wearing this crown, which I feel like at multiple times when she's been desperate, she's like, oh, I could sell this crown, this really fancy crown she got when she was in Karth. But she's always been like, no, that was the thing that Viserys sold when he sold our mother's crown. That's what turned him into the beggar king. I'm not doing that. So I think it's just, again, a note that she's hasn't given up on that. Like, in the same line of like, oh, I don't really feel like a queen. She's doing some of the things that, like, you got to put on the show. You got to look like a queen. She's kind of been doing that part of it. So, again, a little imposter syndrome, but she's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. So then we get the plans of how she conquered Marine. How, we find out that she used her ships in a little bit different way than ships have been used before, and had some sewer rats that were on her side, which we don't get till like the end of the chapter, till she's talking to Jorah, right?
Yeah, the second half of kind of how their expedition went. But exactly. Yeah. So the reason they have to use these ships, and basically what they do is they dismantle the ships for wood, and we kind of talked about a little bit of this last Dany chapter. The reason they have to do this is because the Meerenies have just burnt everything nearby. I mean, they're kind of in a deserty region, so there's not a ton of trees anyway. But any trees that were around, they burn them so that Dany wouldn't be able to make catapults and siege engines and stuff like that. So she kind of is using the only thing she has, which is these 3 ships.
Yeah, and we saw this before with the wildlings, right? Like they were just building that giant turtle for however long.
There's definitely some wildling, I think some parallels to that chapter for sure, between the ram and... She doesn't talk too much about it, but she does walk by a turtle with hides on it and stuff like that they use with the ram. There was something else that reminded me of it, but I'm sure I have it marked down here. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, so she mentions that the captain, who is the captain of these ships, Captain Grolio, he's not happy about this because now there's nothing to be a captain of because we took apart your ships.
Those boats are everywhere, yeah.
And they named like the siege engines and stuff after the old ship names because she got these ships, renamed them to
her dragon names, right? Or
Aegon's dragons.
Yeah, based off of
Vhagar, Meraxes, and Balerion.
And you can't ruin those ships.
Well, so yeah, exactly. So the Meraxes, the ship that she named Meraxes, used to be called Jozo's Prank, and so they made a ram out of its mast and laughing iron jester figurehead, and they called it Jogo's Cock, and that's the one that actually breached the gates. So more penis symbolism for you. Penis breaching the gates, letting all the little people in.
Good one.
To go impregnate the city. Literally, that's what they call it when you don't they say that? Let's go impregnate. Well, I guess that's a line from the show. Maybe that's only where I'm thinking of it.
let's impregnate the bitch.
He can impregnate the Eyrie. Yeah, impregnate the bitch.
Yeah.
Oh no, he says that because Tyrion says it's unimpregnable, which is like a word they use to describe castles that are well defended. Yeah.
Yeah, that one I heard for sure. Impregnable.
Yeah, so she wanted to lead the attack. She was stuck in the back. Did not lead the attack.
Let's remember, Dany is like a 15-year-old girl, maybe 14-year-old girl at this point. Like
she's got some chainmail on.
It's badass. And she's like, put me in the front lines.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of
It took everybody agreeing, something that never happens, to finally like make her see that. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't the best idea.
They're like, you're the only thing that holds us together. You're not a fighter.
Like what was she gonna do? Like she doesn't even have a weapon.
Yeah,
right.
She's never trained.
She's not trained in anything. She's got dragons.
She's not trained. She doesn't even like try to train in like archery or anything like that. Which
exactly.
You wouldn't, So come on,
think.
Dany, know your role. KY, know your personnel. KYP.
Yeah.
Stand in the back. Give orders from the top.
So she's sitting in the back, and she can hear the city fall before, like, instead of see it, because basically, I mean, you got to think that what's the population split? It's got to be mostly slaves inside these cities. I think that's how it was.
Yeah, everybody's ready to rise up.
80% slaves. So once you get some of those guys turning, it's a domino effect.
Yeah, she says that the sewer rats must have did their job because she can hear the slaves, uprising against the great masters. And as she was able to walk through, a lot of dead people were already as she got through the gates. And she was kind of on fire. And they must have been collecting the rest of the great masters that that weren't killed in front of the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, so they collected all the Great Masters there, and they're like, what should we do with them? And she's like, well, you hand over enough, and the rest of you can go free. And they're like, well, how many's enough? And she says,
163, please.
Yeah, just a few.
Remember why this is important, Kyle? Why 163?
I don't remember, no.
Oh, really? Huh. I mean, I don't know if I would have the first time either, but...
I think she mentioned it slightly, but not specifically. So when she was marching from Yunkai to Marine, there was like a slave child.
The mile markers.
Nailed up every mile, pointing the direction to Marine, like, come get us. Like, we're waiting for you.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
It was 163 miles. And she did the whole, like, oh, well, like, Jorah or Dario was like, oh, we'll ride ahead and take them down. She's like, no, you won't. I'll look at every one of them. So,
yeah.
Eye for an eye is exactly what she's doing, but...
Yeah.
Again, like later when she's like, "Hey, have someone go clean them up," because they're talking about these are what's causing the flies. Brown Ben's like, "You're gonna need. Don't just bring like a shovel to bury them. Like, you're gonna need like a bucket to scrape them off the floor because they're already bits." Yeah, exactly. Like
gross.
Yeah. You mentioned eye for an eye. I just want to say it so I don't forget. She kind of is ruling by eye for an eye mentality once she like starts kind of governing Marine here.
Oh yeah, what you're talking about is when she starts punishing murderers and thieves and rapists, right?
Yeah.
Murderers get paid with death, thieves get paid by losing the hand, and rapists lose their member. Yep. Does this remind you of anybody, Jeff?
Stannis.
It does remind me of Stannis. Stannis would probably behave the same way. I was thinking more from House of the Dragon.
No.
In House of the Dragon, Daemon, who's the guy who is the founder of the Gold Cloaks, there's a scene where he is doing this, and it's a direct quote from Fire and Blood, where basically like Daemon... made the Gold Cloaks and kind of cleaned up King's Landing in a ruthless way where he was doing, and it's pretty much the exact line from this chapter where it's like he was killing murderers, cutting off hands, and cutting off dicks. So
I mean, it's definitely a way to disincentivize those crimes. Like you hear that kind of stuff starts happening.
And again, like right after the sack of a city, that's all that stuff is probably happening more than way more than normal. So Dany, I think, is kind of like harsh measures to get us back on track. It didn't seem like that was Dany's like. Oh yeah,
going forward, that's how she was going to
going forward. Yeah. It was more of like a temporary. Let's knock this shit off, and then we'll figure something
else out. Bring in with a firm hand.
Yeah, these things have to stop at some point, and this is how we stop them. Yeah.
Still, some of this stuff I think is like flirting that line of greatness or madness, right? Which is, I think, again, one of the other plot themes of the chapter.
Well, I mean, it even gets to it later with the slave trader, right? And she kind of.
Agrees, yeah, exactly.
Bends a little bit, yeah.
I thought that was interesting, yeah.
We'll hold off on this, but I said this in the first ever Dany chapter. You came at me hard. I was like, I know there's a part later in these books.
Yeah, well, let's not. You don't have to say too much more of which of your personal.
Well, we'll have to get into it so I don't sound as bad, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was that like? That was like 2 years ago.
I can find it. I'll put it in. I'll find the clip.
Hey, all, Editing Nelson here. I did find the clip, but I'm going to play it a little bit later in the chapter when we actually talk about the slavery stuff.
Anyway.
Yeah, so are we there? Dany is done reminiscing. She's ready to go.
Yeah, so she gets to her council chambers where there used to be a harpy throne. Pretty dope harpy throne from the sounds of it. But she got that broken up, and now she sits on an ebony bench. And she kind of just looked across her followers and wondered who would betray her next. They're all there. I didn't list them out now, so you can feel free if you want to.
Yeah, Grey Worm, Brown Ben Plum, Dario Naharis, and then her handmaids, Iri Jikwi and Missandei.
Yep.
Belwas is there too, but not mentioned here, so I guess Dany
I don't think is he in yet?
Betray. I'm not sure. Yeah. They do say, like, go tell Belwas to bring him in, but
yeah,
I like to think that Dany's just not worried about him. We know he's not.
He's eating
He would never. You know I love Belwas.
Yeah. Exactly. So my next note is, we just talked about it, the eye for eye mentality that she's doing, and then they're like, yeah, we need to get rid of the dead. There's too many flies here, and Missandei offers kind of just like some insight on the people. I would say, like, hey, they would want these bones to bury with their families, so it would be a kind gesture to do that for them, which she ends up agreeing to.
Yeah, she's like, it's not going to win me any love. Not going to win me any love with the widows of these. Like, okay, we're going to give the bones back to the widows. Like, they're not going to like me anymore. I still killed their husbands, but okay, whatever. Well, it's either that or go bury them somewhere else outside. So why not?
It's a closure.
It's a little bit, yeah. It's at least some closure for them.
Yeah, the other thing that we kind of skipped over a little bit is Dany has this thought of like, oh, I can't trust any of these guys, but the dragon has 3 heads.
And I need to find 2 people.
Her take is there's 2 people I can trust.
And she used the gender too. She said 2 men.
For some reason.
I guess she's thinking she's the opposite of Aegon.
The inverse
Aegon had two sisters.
Aegon.
But she was what? She's looking for two brothers. Your two brothers are. You had two brothers. They're already gone.
They were there. They're not there no more.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like she's got them at the end. Wasn't Belwas and Barristan like she knighted them?
Okay, I didn't know if that meant like you think that means she's taking them as her two heads.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I was just wondering because she thinks about it specifically here, but not later.
Did Belwas get knighted?
I guess not in that sense.
Neither of them
Jeff,
get knighted.
I think
she kind of just takes Barristan into her service.
Yeah.
Swears him in.
I think Belwas already was. Maybe it's kind of where I'm at.
I don't know if he's technically a knight just because he was like a fight, like where Belwas came from. He used to be like one of these gladiators, exactly. Which is why like they kind of talk about later when they did get in. He's the one that led them to the fighting pit because he's like, oh, I used to work here, pretty much.
Do this all the time.
So
all right, so two people have come for audience today. One is a shipmaster, and then somebody from Astapor.
Yep.
And the Astapor guy comes in first. His name is Gale.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm representing the king of Astapor. She's like,
what do you mean? What?
King, I was just there. There was no king there. Yeah.
Put 3 people in charge. What's going on? So like a month ago.
Weird thing too, Dario. They mentioned Dario has a new getup that he stole from throughout the city, and he's dyed his hair purple, but he's got purple eyes. This is the thing that people are always sus
it just looks purple. That's
sure, but it's mentioned like 2 or 3 times.
No. Depending on what I was wearing, my eyes could look a little green. It's just the truth of it all.
Sure. Why do I care about this?
Because Valyrian people have purple eyes.
Valyrians, yeah, exactly. So anytime a character has purple eyes, all the fans go crazy and they're like, oh, what kind of... Is there a Targaryen that we don't know about that this person could be? I will say people love... There are a ton of theories that Dario is random other characters.
Okay.
A lot of them are crazy. I think one of them I can probably say now. People... I'll hold off. Just in case. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold off. But
yeah,
there's a lot of just like
it's
Dario
stupid, Kyle.
is
Don't
X,
even worry about
X type theories, and it's just weird. Like it's like 3 times in this chapter they talk about his eyes being purple, and even twice Dany considers it about him being a potential Valyrian. So just think it's weird.
And she's like trying to bang him too.
One known example is Egg, right? Like Dunk thinks about like Egg, how Egg's eyes look purple before we know who Egg is. So that's like one example, right?
Yeah.
So.
Don't put too many eggs in baskets.
Right.
I don't have any good theories on it. I just wanted to point it out because I don't have any good theories. I feel like it's something that we can.
It's because there's no such thing.
King Cleon,
right? The butcher,
and how he's gonna be. He's great. He's gonna be the best person for this job in Astapor, right? Like he stopped this. They were going to make things like it used to be, so he stopped this plot. Now he's in charge.
The council you put in charge, yeah, they were trying to bring back the old ways.
But then Missandei knows like what's up though.
She knows who his cat is.
Yeah, she was from this city.
She like starts asking questions pretty much that are like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. Is pretty much what her questions point out, right?
He could chop a body up faster than anybody.
Yeah.
He was a butcher. Yeah, and he was the best. Like he could cut up a pig faster than anybody. Oh, this is what I have here. Janos is a butcher's son. So he wasn't actually a butcher, but he's a butcher's son. So kind of weird, right? Like we have the whole ram turtle comparison in the last John chapter. Janos shows up. He's kind of like, I'm in charge now. Not 100% parallel. This guy the new Butcher King shows up. He's like, I'm in charge now in Astapor. So again, just kind of nothing super connected. Just made me think about it.
Yeah, you're reaching too. Your arms are getting longer by the second.
Just thought about it to throw it out there.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair.
That's what we're here for. You're winning the game in Space Jam right now as Michael Jordan.
Mrs. Incredible.
Mrs. Incredible. It's a good reference as well. All right, so the whole point is to ally up with her now and Marine against Young Kai, who they've been doing a whole lot to get ready to attack Dany.
It's weird. Like I wonder if any of this can be believed, right? Because this guy's definitely spinning some tales. This Gale cat is spinning some tales for sure. But this is what he's saying about Young Kai is plausible, right? So what's he say Young Kai's doing?
They're just gathering troops and training and preparing to take out her, right?
Yeah, sent envoys to the Dothraki to get a Khalasar against her. Sent people across the seas to get cell swords and stuff. Exactly, like they're just getting ready to fight. So this guy's like, hey, why don't we team up against them?
Which Young Kai's the other city she was already at, right?
Yeah,
that was
second.
The third. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I meant, yeah. But
Astapor, Young Kai. Now we're at Marine. Yep.
And we'll seal this alliance with a nice marriage to King Cleon.
Exactly. And again, here's where Missandei is kind of like, what about his other wives? Like, oh yeah, the marriage will be great. He'll give you lots of sons. And she's like, did his other wives give sons? And this guy's like,
he's also got like 5 wives.
3 exactly. So making this guy look worse.
Yeah, but he put him aside for you, my lady.
Dany gives him the, I'll consider, think about it tomorrow. Have a nice tower cell.
How nice of him, yeah.
Pyramid cell.
Yeah. Give me some time on that one.
Also, we didn't talk about it. I say it a lot, but like I love these slave cities. Like if you could go to one of that sounds kind of fucked up to say, but if you could go to one place in like Westeros, Essos, fuck all the castles in Westeros. I would go to like Marine or Astapor or Yunkai. They're like Egypt in its heyday. These big ass pyramids that are populated with people. Sure, they got lots of slaves.
I think it's a bad take by you.
They eat dog sausages and stuff like Dany's breakfast, and this is dog sausage.
That's
I think,
but like, full of bad takes, man.
It's a bad take by you.
Like, there's a quote later where the dawn is happening and like the light is coming over the city. It just seems like a beautiful tourist spot.
Bad take.
You think it's a bad take? Gotcha.
Maybe not. I mean, they're definitely more built up in the East, I would say, like for show. So Marine's probably
just like Astapor has all these red pyramids.
I don't think
Yunkai
a rainbow
has all these yellow pyramids.
I don't think a rainbow brick pyramid would look really cool though. I don't.
We talked about this last time. I think it's probably pyramids of different colors. You guys said it's probably like throw up bricks where you just mix in whatever color you got.
If it's throw up bricks, I'm not about it. If it's like
for sure, but if it's like the yellow pyramid, the blue pyramid, the green pyramid, then that's kind of cool.
I don't get that when they describe it though. It just seems like they just like, all right, what brick do you have next? Throw it on there.
I agree.
It's hard to tell, but yeah. So
the next dude comes in.
Yeah. Wait, before that, Dany is kind of reflecting on her victories, and she was like, damn, like...
They all turned to dross in her hands. Game of Thrones
I worked so hard, man. Like, that road was rough. And Jorah told me it was going to be a rough ride, but wait, I can't think about Jorah.
Yep.
Bring in the ship captain.
Dany says, when she thinks about her victory, she says they all turned to dross, D-R-O-S-S in her hands. Game of Thrones word. Who knows what dross means?
I didn't even look it up. I just accepted that it's a Game of Thrones word.
It's pretty much means
ash,
used as like trash or garbage, but that's really close. It's the impurities that come out like when forging metal. So like when you heat up iron and stuff, like the piece that like flake ash off that aren't the metal, I guess.
When you're forging, well, yeah, it's cool.
But it's used to mean like trash.
I've said it before. Big Forge and Fire fan.
Yeah. So Game of Thrones word of the day.
All right. So the ship captain comes in. He's like, yo, I need slaves. Like,
well, first he goes through King Cleaver, right? Isn't that King Cleon, the other guy?
Well, yeah. So she's like, before she asks him what he wants, because this guy came from Karth, but he picked up that other guy in Astapor on the way. So she's like, okay, that guy's gone. You tell me what's actually going on in Astapor. Yeah, exactly. Read that quote, Kyle. The city bleeds.
The city bleeds. Dead men rot unburied in the streets. Each pyramid is an armed camp, and the markets have neither food nor slaves for sale. And the poor children. King Cleaver's thugs have seized every highborn boy in Astapor to make new Unsullied for the trade, though it will be years before they are trained. So really, like, there's no prospects there even, right? Like, that's pretty much what this guy's saying. Like, there's nothing there now. Like, sure, you freed everybody, but, like, the economy has collapsed, and these people don't know how to pick up the pieces. It's a void.
They only know one way of doing things too. So
and the other guy was saying the council was trying to restore Astapor to the old ways. This guy literally is trying to remake Unsullied, just using the master's kids instead of the slavers' kids. So
exactly.
he's trying.
They only know one way of life. They're just running it back.
Exactly. They're just running it backwards. They're just kind of get revenge. Exactly. You were in charge. Now we're in charge. Dany tried to not make that happen, but again, she put 3 people in charge and was like, cross my fingers.
That's what I'm saying. The power vacuum.
Time.
Exactly. Yep.
So, exactly. So she was unsurprised by I think this was a good quote. Dany was surprised by how much she was unsurprised. Like, I should have known this. Exactly. And she's like,
yeah, of course I knew this. Yeah.
And she remembers Aroa, the Lazarene girl she once tried to save. Who remembers what happened with Aroa?
She was getting raped, right?
Exactly. She was one of the ones like kind of in the city with Miri Mazdor. Dany's like, no more raping. She was like kind of the one that Dany took and actually made her handmaid. Yeah. And like one of the Blood Riders kept being like, I'm going to rape that girl. And Dany's like, no, you're not. But then Drogo died. Dany was like in her like post-birth
fugue state
nap where she was sleeping for a couple days. And when she wakes up and they give her the dump of what happened, they're like, oh yeah, Aroa was raped by like everybody and then just killed. So Dany, and she's thought about that a few times since. Also interesting, when that happens, Dany's like, oh, I think the guy who did it was Mago. She swears this like crazy paragraph long, I swear vengeance, I am Daenerys Stormborn, Mago will suffer more than Aroa suffered. And there was a point where George was like, in like an interview, George was like, don't forget, Dany still has to deal with Mago. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's like an actual thing that she's going to do. Like, she's not just going to forget about that and keep moving on. So George doesn't leave loose ends. So that's kind of why we keep hearing about Aroa, I think. But she's thought about this multiple times in like a, damn, I've tried to bring justice and it almost ends up worse.
For sure.
Right? Like, Aroa, it might have just been better if she would have died that day when I tried to save her than getting the fate she actually ended up with. And she's kind of being like Astapor, just that times 1,000.
All right, so how do we get into this slave trade? The guy said he had a ship full of goods, right? That he's
yeah. Well, no. The first thing he says is he wants slaves. He's like, I got a boat of goods. I want slaves to take back. I'm here to trade.
That's what he's trading for. The people.
Yep.
And word has gotten out that it's pretty rough conditions in Dany's camp, and these slaves that were in highborn situations are now in a pretty bad, rough spot as free people, and they want to sell them. It ends up being that they will sell themselves back into slavery at Karth, which is the city of all cities, or whatever the title was.
Yeah, so the quote is, the ones who come are well-spoken and gently born, sweet queen. Such slaves are prized. In the free cities they will be tutors, scribes, bed slaves, even healers and priests. They will sleep in soft beds, eat rich foods, and dwell in manses. Here they have lost all and live in fear and squalor. So, like, again, I'm not saying slavery is a good thing.
It's so fucked, Nelson. No. I think what you should be saying is that it's horrible that these people live in these conditions. Yeah. That where they would feel that selling themselves would be an improvement.
Yeah.
Slavery is good. This still isn't that argument. I still think
it's not what I'm arguing. It's not what I'm arguing. The part where we talked about it in the first Dany chapter was Dany. There was an argument, like there was like slaves that were tending on Dany in Illyria's manse, and they were saying Khal Drogo has the biggest cow. It's 1,000 big, and his slaves wear gold collars. Right. So basically, the slave that was tending to Dany was jealous of these other slaves. And I think my claim, again, hopefully when I clip the quote in here, it doesn't deceive me. I think my claim was basically like, the point is there are slaves that definitely live better than peasants do in Westeros. Does that mean slavery is good? No, but that means there are people that would probably rather be a slave in that society than not be a slave.
Hey all, editing Nelson again. Here's the clip from the first ever Dany podcast where we're getting to the slavery argument. Apologies for the audio quality. Clearly, we've come a long way. Also, it's good to hear Glow's voice.
Also, we hear a lot of bad stuff about Illyrio, but like you said, if she's only getting her sources from the people who are slaves for Illyrio, they probably don't have the best things.
I don't know. They're probably pretty reliable in terms of all.
They're probably pretty truthful, but also they don't have the best outlook on them, right? You don't want somebody that's like your slave, the one talking you up to everybody.
Yeah, he's not the one that's going to be defending.
Why not? I mean, if you're a good slave owner, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a good point. And they do get a lot more into this, like as slavery is a thing later. But there's like it's big in like the later book. Like, is like some slaves have a way better life than like peasants in like especially this time period. And it, like,
well, I mean
it's a good thing, right?
Especially when you're not a good thing, but when you have somebody with like Magister Illyrio.
That was a joke.
Yeah, but when you have somebody like Magister Illyrio, and they even talk about it, right? So we'll keep going like story wise. This was all stuff Dany was thinking after Viserys leaves her. So while she's getting this bath, kind of what I was getting to, the slaves start talking up how like awesome the Khal is. There's 100,000 men in his army, and even his slaves wear golden collars. So that like kind of like you said, and I think they even said these slaves were gifts from Khal Drogo. But yeah, these women were slaves in a Dothraki army, and even if it wasn't Khal Drogo's army, they would maybe they're envious of Khal Drogo's slaves who wear golden collars when they were wearing like iron ones or whatever.
That would make you believe that this Illyrio dude is a real piece of shit if they say good things about the other slave owners.
I mean, I'm saying if they were a gift from a lesser Khal,
but they came from
and they're talking about like this other Khal. Like this other army. They're slaves from one army talking about, oh, I wish I was a slave in this other army because blah, 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 blah. Now that they're living in a manse with like beds and stuff, it's probably better than the Dothraki barbarian life.
Yeah.
But it just kind of points to the thing, like, some slaves don't have it too bad.
No, I mean, you think about what kind of slave you could be.
It's true, man.
No, it's definitely true.
All right, yeah, all right, okay. Some slaves have it better, but it's not a good.
It's not
time.
good. No, you don't want to be.
Either
a slave.
way,
All
it's
right,
not good.
Let's just think about. Let's go into
This. Kyle's laughing.
Most
at
of
me,
them
but this,
don't
like,
have a
comes
good
up,
time.
Like, a lot of characters think this to themselves later on in the books.
All right, and now back to the Danny Six Storm of Swords podcast.
What Kyle's pointing out is that's a failure in the system, not necessarily. It doesn't mean slavery is a good thing. 100% agreed. And again, this is not a theme that
Then
goes
we're
away.
on the same page. Then we're good.
Danny keeps dealing with this going on. To not be super spoilery.
I still don't think like her being like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like everybody, like go ahead and be slaves if you want to be a slave.
Without being,
I mean, I guess
without
it's
being
cool that
spoilery,
it's-
I think that her opinion on this matter evolves as she, because again, if she's staying here, she's going to be dealing with slave issues for a while. So I think
For sure.
a lot of this comes back up again. So we can talk about it later. But
yeah. So she agrees that if they can sell themselves back into it. No children, and a man
Only
can't sell
yourself.
a wife into slavery.
yeah, it's one of these things too where I always like. I think it's pretty good ruling. Again, in general, I don't love the idea. How do you adhere to this? Like, I feel like as soon as you say like, okay, you can do it, there's going to be kids getting sold. There's going to be wives getting sold. You know what I mean? Like Danny's not going to be there. To
I mean, I
oversee
feel
the
like it's just this
transaction.
one ship though. Right now, like you do it
At the
ship by-
moment, sure, but it's
you
like
watch.
you know
What
what
are
I
they
mean?
just gonna get like 70 ships in the bay tomorrow? Like, I don't know. So
Once
it'll
we hear
become
there's all these people on the riverbanks trying to sell themselves into slavery.
maybe if it becomes these people are also free to like they could. I mean, I guess they're not two-stepping across the Red Sea, but like right now, you're just gonna watch who comes on this guy's boat, and then you could do the same thing to the next boat. Like you just gotta put someone in charge.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be like some port like system, right? Like there's got to be somebody that's doing the imports, exports,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, she's taking a tax too. So like, she obviously she talks about who's going to be in charge of getting the money because
You're right, Jeff.
she doesn't really trust either. So someone's going to be there to collect taxes. So now, does that person give a shit if like a kid sneaks by? Probably not. If she can't trust him to like be good with the tax, like sure.
You're right. You guys are right. She does kind of the next thing she goes into is kind of like setting up logistics on how she's going to manage this and the tax thing because Missandei points out that when there was slave sales before, the city would take a percent. So like, hey, if we're already, why not at least line our pockets? So yeah, she's like, I don't trust the sellswords to handle that because sellswords are sellswords. They only care about themselves. So let's get some freedmen who are knowledgeable to set up some type of like reporting system. So you would assume that would keep track of this type of stuff too.
well, that's her creating jobs, right?
Exactly.
Trying to create jobs in the city.
Hopefully, some of these slaves now can become this freedman
Yeah,
with
rather
that job
than-
instead of
Rather than
scribe
selling
in
themselves into slavery,
exactly,
they can actually get a
Yep. Fix some policy.
All right, it's time to do the actual work. Belwas, bring in my knights.
Yep.
And this is kind of where she explains what they did for her, and with the sewage rats, right?
Yeah, and I mean we knew.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Barristan has shaved off his beard, so long white beard is gone. Back to normal Barristan.
Now he's
Makes him
young,
look a little younger.
Barry again.
Again, he looked old. He
Younger
still looks
Barry.
old, but yeah, yeah, exactly.
10 years. It's a big difference.
Yeah, but 85 to 75.
Yeah. So they went through the poop tunnel and freed the slaves
Poop chute.
and kind of won the city from inside out.
Two crazy things. George just like drops them as if like you're supposed to just skip
There's
over
a
'em.
crocodile. There's a crocodile in the
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
A lizard
Jorah
came out of
slays a
nowhere.
crocodile.
Where's Spider-Man when you need him?
Just comes out and eats somebody.
And before that, it says like, oh, some of the men, because there was 20 men with Belwas.
So Belwas just bit one in half, bit a rat in half.
Exactly. Belwas, Jorah, and Barristan.
He was hungry.
And they're scared of these rats, and Belwas just bites one in half. Like, what the fuck? Like, why is that line in there? It adds nothing to the chapter. It just makes Belwas a
Yeah, I don't
crazy
know, that was
person.
weird for sure. Yep.
Just to show that he's a madman.
But yeah, so they pop out. Belwas leads them to a fighting pit. They kill a few guards, free the fighters, and just probably do that a few more times.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's
There's probably like a storage of weapons there too. You'd think like
Yeah, they're at the gladiator arena. Yeah,
yeah.
break down some
Sometimes
doors.
Sometimes you don't bring your own weapon.
Imagine these guys are probably like fighting with some crazy weapons. Like They're not just giving everyone a straight sword and a shield in the
net
gladiator
and,
pits.
a net
You got
and
The fish spear.
nunchucks and
The fish spear guy, yeah, that guy gets fucked every time, right? Like a net and a fish spears.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty some dope scenes with the fish net and Spartacus. If you've never seen Spartacus, it's a good show.
I think there's some dope scenes with the fishnet in Gladiator and in Game of Thrones. That's Mira's. I mean, she's catching frogs most of the time, but Mira's a net and spear girl.
She's playing with the net, yeah.
Fair.
She catches Sam with it.
Yeah. So, all right, Barristan. Barristan, you're up first. Why did you betray my brother Viserys? This is going back to Rob's rebellion.
Yep.
I mean, pretty much she just says, like, he's a good knight, right? Like, he took the city and he let me live if I pledged fealty to him.
And
right?
your dad was a crazy person. Like, what are we talking about? Your dad was mad.
Well, not your dad, because we're talking about Barristan's options. He's like, at this point, his options are Robert, who Kyle said is pretty honorable and nice. The other option was Viserys, who was his father's son.
He was just as mad. We're flipping coins here. His landed on crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where Danny learns all this. So where did that quote come from?
King Jaehaerys.
And it's Jaehaerys II. Jaehaerys I is the old king at the very beginning.
That's House of Dragons.
Jaehaerys II. Barristan does mention it later. Jaehaerys is the son of Aegon. That Aegon is Egg.
That is Egg.
So,
wow,
yeah.
I'm just all up on my history.
And it's her grandfather, right?
Jaehaerys is her grandfather, so Egg would be her great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Yep. Yeah, and basically what he said is greatness and madness are two sides of the same coin. And Targaryens have always flirted a little bit too close to the madness. So when basically there's a saying that when a Targaryen's born, the gods flip a coin and everyone holds their breath pretty much, hopes for the best. And at this point, this is kind of where that madness theme kind of comes obvious, I think, in the chapter, and Dany starts thinking about it herself a couple times.
She continues to pick up on it.
For sure. But then he's like, but here I am pledging to you because I don't see that in you, right? Like I don't see the taint is what he ends up calling it. But like,
yeah, I wasn't just hiding from the Lannisters. I wanted to watch you a little bit too.
Yeah, he's like, that's not the only reason I was undercover. He's like, I just wanted to make sure you weren't crazy. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So she's like, all right, like you want to be back in my service. Like, what if she gives them all a bunch of shitty jobs. She's like, what if I tell you to do that? What if I tell you to do that? And he's like, I'll do anything. I believe in you now.
I can do anything.
Well, I like this. I like,
what
if I make you my fool or cook? And he's like, I can bake an apple and boil beef as well as any man, and I've roasted many a duck over a campfire. I hope you like them greasy with charred skin and bloody bones. And she just smiles and she's like, I'd be mad to eat such. You're my knight. Like Plum, give him a sword.
Yep.
Give him a sword. But he doesn't want to take it right away.
Yeah, a little. He's a little extra.
Well, he pretty much says like, I only will take it from you. Yeah, like I can't accept this from him. I threw down my sword for the last king. I need to be given it back by the queen, right?
Yeah, it's pretty soft.
Yeah. I like the sentiment, but it's like, okay, JJ Watt, you're hardo. Just take the sword from Ben. We're really gonna go through the whole like, give it to her so she can give it to me. It's the only way. It's like, okay, dude, whatever.
Just take the goddamn sword.
Yeah.
All right, Jorah, I can't put it off anymore. Step your ass up here. And he doesn't read the room well. Jorah is an idiot.
He has been, right?
He's stubborn. He won't admit when he's wrong.
He just starts like spelling off like all the good shit he's done. Like, bro, like, fuck you.
We know.
Like, we know what you did.
Yeah.
We also know that you did this. So that's what you're on
we're not
trial
here
for.
to talk about what you did right. We're here to talk about what you did wrong. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to own it. You just got to come in and be like, put your hand up. You're right. I fucked up. And Jorah just won't do it.
Yeah. And like, if he was honest like right away without them like prying, like the big part is like, when did you stop informing, right? When did you switch to my side?
Karth.
If he could have just been like, look, at this point I really started to like if he could have been the one to say it versus having to be inferred out of him,
yeah,
it might have been a different conversation, and he just never gave himself that chance.
He also doesn't realize like Barristan was in the room every time a letter he sent was there. So like he's trying to deny shit that he can't deny.
Yeah. He's lying too. You can't be lying right now, bro. We got receipts.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't fully lie, but basically that happens when she's like, she realizes he says Karth. She's like, oh fuck, that means you told him about my son.
Yep.
And Barristan's like, yeah, he pretty much unleashed the death order against you by sending that letter.
Yep. Interesting though, because then he says what Jorah says is that Varys basically that day, the day I stopped you from the poisoning, I got a letter from Varys warning me that people would be hurting you, but telling me basically Varys wanted you watched but not harmed. That's not what we were hearing in King's Landing. Varys basically even told Ned, like, when Robert died, Robert was like, you know what, undo it. And Ned's like, hey, Varys, Robert had changed his mind, undo the murder. And Varys like, too late, those birds have flown. So like, it's opposite of what we're hearing. It makes me wonder, is Jorah lying? Jorah's sleamy and slimy, but it doesn't seem like he's lying about shit.
Can you send another bird? Like, if you really could send those birds, like, to send another one takes time, right? Like, it's not send a text message like, hey, deal's off.
My point is what we saw in King's Landing when Varys basically saying, I sent birds that saying we're going to murder Dany. And when Ned says stop it, he's basically like, too late. And what Jorah's saying is Varys always just said, watch, don't hurt. Like, protect, but watch is kind of what Jorah's saying.
I mean, that's the riddle inside a puzzle, no?
Exactly. It's the whole thing, like, unreliable narrator. Is Jorah lying? Like, we don't know what happened.
We know
on the other
Jorah
side.
lies, right? He's in the middle of trying to lie about stuff.
Again, it's weird. Like, he's definitely trying to hide stuff. But when, like, even when I said he lies, but like when she asked, like, did you save my son? He doesn't say no. He goes into like sweet talk mode. He's like, Khaleesi, and he gets cut off right away. But I'd assume he would say like, you have to understand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to say, but I don't think he actually lies at all. I agree with both of you guys. He doesn't handle the situation well, but I don't know if there's any outright lies we can pin Jorah down to. So
yeah, well, she basically is like,
I think it's an interesting line about Varys.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think it just plays into the riddle that is Varys. Like, he might
100%.
It might both be true. It might be true narrators, and it's just like
exactly. Varys might have been telling people in King's Landing, "Hey, we're going to kill this girl," and sending letters that say, "Don't kill the girl." Right? There definitely were some letters that said "kill her," or else the poisoner wouldn't have tried to poison her. You know what I mean?
Right,
the letters to Jorah, who knows?
Yeah. So, all right, Dany's like, "Whatever, bro. I can't forgive you," and this is when he starts groveling and begging, and that he loved her.
You have to, please forgive me. Yeah.
Everything I did since then has been for you. Like, look at everything I've done. Look, I'll do anything for you.
Fought for you, killed for you. She's like, you kissed me and betrayed me.
Yeah. I can't forgive you.
Fuck off.
I even loved you. And she's like, and there it is. 3 treasons you will know. Once for blood, once for gold, and once for love. Again, so this is me thinking that Dany thinks that this is the treason for love.
For sure.
Well, that was the trigger point, so.
It doesn't make sense to me, though, because, like, wouldn't this be a treason for gold?
No, because he was just getting pardoned back. Was he making money off of it?
But he's not betraying her because he loves someone. He's betraying her for gold.
I don't think it was for money, though, was it? Wasn't it just to come home? It was just for a pardon.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So what?
I would say I would agree that it's not love at the moment.
I think she just meant it's somebody that loves her or that she might love that is committing treason against her, right?
I agree. That's how she's taking it. I guess what I'm saying is that's not how I take this. I take it would be treason against somebody would be betraying her for the love of something else.
You weren't in the fucking Warlock house. Why do you think that your way of looking at it is better than hers?
Just because that take doesn't make sense in the other two senses. Like, you were betrayed once for gold, for someone that golds you. But what? Because she didn't give someone gold and that's why they betrayed her? Or like the 4 blood, 4 gold makes me think like someone else, like someone betrays her for their family is how I would assume the 4 blood. Someone betrays her because they're being paid is how I would take the 4 gold, and then someone betrays her for someone else that they love is how I would take those 3. Again, maybe I'm wrong and she's right, just kind of a discrepancy in the two.
Yeah, aren't you the one that says like looking into prophecies is like the biggest waste of time?
Yeah, but what are we gonna do? We don't got wins to read.
I'm just saying, like, you're the one that's like trying to like clearly define it, and you know that that's impossible.
That's
so sure. I'll take your take for sure, but we don't know that she's wrong in her take. Is that like he loved me, so he betrayed me?
Yeah, I guess that's my point. Is we don't know either way, but I guess we just shouldn't take Dany as truthful.
I'll agree with the weird part is like he betrayed her before he loved her.
That's true too.
Until he loved her, right? Pretty much.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now, Jorah, get the fuck out.
Yeah, is that the end?
You got till dawn.
Yeah.
Pack up. Yeah. And then Dario, as he's walking out, Dario's like, yo, it's not the smartest thing. Like, I'll go kill him if you want.
Yeah. So when they kick Jorah out, she's basically like, if you ever come back, or I forget what he has to do, but Bell also got to twist your head off. That's all I cared about. Bello's gonna twist her head off.
Don't let me see your fucking face again.
Bitch.
And then when he's gone, like Jeff was saying, Dario's like, this one's more dangerous than all the Oznaks and Miros rolled into one. Oznak was the guy that Belwas killed in the 1v1, and Miro was the one that Barristan killed.
And I mean, he's right? Like, that's probably the right play, is either kill him or keep him.
I don't know, like, I don't, like, why?
I mean, he's got vengeance against, like, he's got a reason to hate her now.
Yeah, go live your life. Go do something else.
It seems like he was, like, very, like, on her side. Again, we know that he was pretty on Varys' side at the beginning of things and switched to Dany's, so maybe his loyalty isn't super strong, but
yeah, I don't know. He seems pissed off, right? And like smashed, shattered. Like, what else does he have to live for now?
He's shoulder slumped walking out of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, go get a beer then, Jorah. You fucked up. You done fucked up.
Yeah, but be gone by dawn.
Yeah. All right. So she goes back to her chambers, and she's reading this old children's stories books from the Seven Kingdoms. And
Sansa's favorite book.
What's it called?
There's no name, but it says the song. It was full of songs and stories, children's stories of truth be told, too simple and fanciful to be true history. All the heroes were tall and handsome, and you could tell the traitors by their shifty eyes.
Are you just inferring that Sansa would love this book?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like she doesn't realize
it's right
how
up
the
her
real
alley.
world works, right?
I got you.
But he says that there was one thing that she was reading about was when 3 princesses got locked up in a tower by a king for the crime of being too beautiful. This is a true thing. We've heard about it before. Again, I'm sure this is the fancy version, the kids' version, but Baelor the Blessed, who was a super religious king, was betrothed to one of his sisters and was like, you know what, that's not pious. He's like, I want them to be pure and maidens for their whole life. So he locks them in whatever he called it, like the beauty tower or whatever, but it's known now as the maiden vault. So like when Marjorie's chilling around before the wedding and stuff, she's in the maiden vault. She's not locked in it, but that's like where her and her ladies were chilling, right?
Locked on the outside, Marjorie. Get in there.
Yeah. But again, kind of like history actually based off truth.
Okay.
So. Or storybook based off truth.
All right. So she's reading. She thinks about Jorah some more. Should she have kept him or killed him? She doesn't know. And it's time to go out to the balcony. I need some fresh air. And we look upon the dragons, and they're all kind of doing something a little diff.
Rhaegal's chilling by the pool, sleeping. Drogon's at the tippity top of the tower, roars fire into the air when he sees her.
Where the harpy used to be. That shit ain't there anymore.
Kind of cool. Like instead of replaced it with a dragon, a bronze dragon, just the real dragon.
The real one perches up there now.
Yeah. And then Viserion, she sees out over the bay hunting for fishes.
And it scares her that they're getting, ballsy, these dragons. They're going out on their own.
Yeah, she's like, what if one of these things just flies away?
Doesn't come back. That's one thing. What if they just like, fuck it, I want to be free too.
I don't know that they will though, right?
I was thinking more like, I don't know, maybe like they're not big yet. Like I don't know what could take them down. Could an arrow in the right spot take them down?
Exactly, because I think they were like large dog size. I think last time we kind of heard size. Yeah.
So maybe like I don't know, a little bit bigger.
They're probably bigger than that now. Yeah, like horse.
Yeah, and in terms of like the whole running away thing, I kind of see the way that the Dany and dragons is kind of like the Starks with their wolves, not as strong. Like Dany's not having dreams inside, at least
she's not
dreams inside her dragons, which is sleeping. But there's something more than just like a normal bond, like a pet
it's not.
Bond.
It's not like she bought him at the pet shop.
She fucking birthed these things and literally suckled them at her tits. So like, there's something there. Yeah,
weird shit. That's still weird to me. Dragon wouldn't drink milk. So weird.
Yeah, we've been there.
All right, so Barristan comes up behind her, and he's like, all right, now that I'm back with you, I owe you all the secrets of your family.
This is kind of weird, right? Like he just like shows up and like says like, I need to tell you stuff, and then they're like, maybe later. Oh yeah, maybe later. You're right. And then he leaves.
It's time for a truth bomb.
It's kind of weird. Yeah,
it was kind of weird. It was just like, I have things. Don't forget, I have things I could tell you.
What are we going to learn?
He's already told her a lot of stuff about Rhaegar, almost to the point of being suspicious. Like, how do you know this much about Rhaegar? Like, everything we know about Rhaegar pretty much is from Arsene telling Dany. Yeah.
Yeah. So it basically is like, like, let's talk about your dad. Like, he was the Mad King, and it got bad. Like, when it first started, it looked like it was going to go pretty good, and then shit just changed, like, slowly but surely until he became who he became. And it's just hitting a little bit too close to home, and this is when they're like, yo, can we do this another time? And they're like, yeah, I guess we definitely can. So, yeah, definitely kind of strange how it just stops right away.
Yeah, and we hit some of the family tree. She's like, there has to be some good with the bad. And he's like, oh, yeah, there is, of not just of your father, but of his father, Jaehaerys II, and his brother. We're talking about Jaehaerys II's brother, who's Duncan the Small, Duncan, Prince of Dragonflies. He was, I think, mentioned in a Jaime chapter when he was reading about Barristan's page in the White Book, because I think they fought in tournaments against this cat.
Okay.
And then their father, Aegon, that's Egg. And then he says, plus your mother, who is Rhaella, who... Interesting because in the last Tyrion chapter, Oberyn was like, hey, my mom and your mom were friends because they served Princess Rhaella. So my mom was friends with your mom because she served Dany's mom, is pretty much what they're saying there.
Yeah.
And then most of all, Prince Rhaegar, in terms of like who has the good in him in the family tree. And I think this is a cool quote. She's like, I wish I could have known him. And he's like, I wish he could have known you, which is kind of like, you got it too. Like whatever the good is in you. It would have been cool if your brother had seen it in you. Cool quote by Barristan. And they're like, yep, all right, peace. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So that night, she takes Eerie to bed. She needs a little bit of her time.
Weird. But yeah, sure.
We get the
She's got warm blood. She's neat.
I could get Dario if I need Dario. He almost looked purple.
It's just weird that Dany is like very anti-slavery, but then here she's like, hey, handmaid, come to bed with me. And then later she's like, I could go back to Eerie, but her kisses taste more of duty. Which basically tells me like she only does it because I tell her to do it. But I tell her to do it anyway. Which is like, okay, Dany, like, we don't like the whole slavery thing, but we're literally just like telling our bedmaids who don't want to do it to come to bed with us.
Way across the line, sexually assaulting her. Yeah.
I'm sure she could find somebody that would want to do it on their end as well. Consensually.
And that's what she says. She's like, even when I'm with Eerie, I pretend it's Drogo, but when I pretend it's Drogo, it fades to Dario.
This time I'm thinking of Dario. We don't know if every time.
Well, to your point, she's like, well, I could just call Dario if I want. Like, there's nothing stopping me from getting Dario here. He would want it. I would want it. We could have some consensual stuff going on, but we'll stick with Eerie.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't say that. She's like, none of it.
She can't trust him yet, right? That's kind of part of the problem, I think. And she's also probably not over Drogo.
And it's just kind of like a look then too. Like she's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel it's like like you can't. I don't know. I feel like you're kind of giving up some of your authority if you're doing
that. It's a double standard. I'll tell you what. It's a double standard of like no one would bat an eye if Robert was doing it. King Robert.
100%.
But like that's what I'm kind of saying. Like if
that's a good point.
If it was out and about that Dany was just kind of like sleeping around for her own.
For sure, Jeff. You're right.
Pleasure. It would be a negative look to her. You know,
yeah, it's a good point. I was gonna say like wouldn't that take away like some of your authority? Like if you slept with one of like your counselors,
I don't know about
like
that.
If Robert did, I think the answer is no, not at all. It would almost like, but in Dany's case,
I just think they would like they would just be like, oh, you're a whore queen type of thing. Like it would be like if it ever got in the question, like it'd be like, oh, well, you're a whore. Like it's like,
the other counselors would definitely whisper about like, I can't believe she's sleeping with Dario, like that type of shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's definitely a standard.
So later that night she has 3 bad dreams. The last one wakes her up. She decides she can't sleep. So she goes back out to the balcony to look upon the city. And I don't know, she makes a lot of I didn't write any of them down, Nelson, so like if there's shit that she looks out and sees that is important, you have to stop me. But Missandei comes out and then she's like, yo, so you're not in bed. Are you okay? And she mentioned that she was looking for a house with a red door, which
what are you looking at? She's like, what are you looking at? I was looking at my city. I was looking for a house with a red door. By night, all doors are black. I thought that was a weird quote, too, because the whole by night, all are black. I feel like we've heard this multiple times. Right? Like, I know one time we heard it was when with Arya was with Yoren, and they're in like that tower, and Army Lorch's men ride up, and he's like, I got a black banner, you idiot. Like, I'm part of the Night's Watch. I don't take any parts.
Like, by night, all banners are black.
And I feel like John said it, like, there's been like, I don't know. Some like it's been like the Wall too, maybe. I don't know. I just feel like the whole by night all are black is like a thing we've heard multiple times. Yeah, I don't know what it relates to. It just stuck out to me. The red door thing though, definitely interesting. Kyle, what's that about?
That's her like dream or whatever, right? Like the house with the red door. That's like her memory.
Exactly. This is what she dreams about, like her like to me, this is her like idea of home.
Yeah.
Right. This was like kind of her first memories. This is where she remembers like Sir Old William Derry, who was like the master at arms for Ares that helped her like spirit her away. She remembers like a lemon tree outside her window. Like to me, when she's thinking of the red door, she's thinking of like home where I belong.
For sure. Yeah.
Safety. Maybe a little bit of safety where she like just felt comfortable.
To me, home. Like home is where the whatever is. That's like
home. Yeah.
The mantelpiece is the red doors. Home is where the red door
heart
is.
lies.
It's Danny's sorority girl artwork or whatever, right? College dorm room artwork. Home is where the red door is. But I think it's cool because I think that kind of plays into her idea of like, I'm going to stay here, right? Like I've never belonged anywhere. Again, it doesn't like she doesn't really think about it too much besides this one line. But that's kind of how I take this.
So then Danny kind of brushes past the whole red door thing, right? Like she doesn't get into it with Missandei, but she does then get real with her and say like, don't lie to me, like don't betray me, like pretty much. She's like everybody else. I'm scared of. I can't be afraid of you too. Like I need to trust somebody. And this is her essentially, saying, I pick you to be one of my trusted friends, right?
Don't ever betray me.
Yeah, either that or a stern warning.
You think it's a threat?
I think it's hard to tell. It could go either way.
That's fair. But which one's Missandei?
That's her. She kind of like handpicked her from when she got the slaves
the girl, right?
Sully that asked for.
Yeah. So this is like the little girl that can speak all the languages, local languages.
Yeah, she was translating back then.
Yeah, exactly. So I think yeah. I don't know. I think she sees some of herself in her.
She started to. I mean, even throughout the chapter, she mentioned like I'm starting to really like this girl.
Yeah.
So I think it's like I do like you.
Yes.
Hey, because I like you. Like
it would break my heart.
Yeah. Don't lie
do that
to me.
Yeah. Sun starts coming up.
Yeah, bunch of colors. Nelson loves the colors of Marine. Here you go, Nelson. This was it in all its glory.
Great bricks became red and yellow and blue and green and orange.
Yeah. Birds start chirping. Everything's coming to life.
The sound of the city. This is beautiful. And then she's like, this could be my city.
The sounds of my city. Yep.
And so pretty much she gets to the point which we were talking about the whole time is like, she's like, I really could learn a thing or two before I get to Westeros. Like I need to kind of practice here. Obviously what I've been doing isn't working. So I need to kind of figure out how to do this properly, right? Like if I'm going to be expected to lead over there, how can I do that if I can't even lead these tiny little cities, right?
Yeah, how can I rule the 7 kingdoms if I can't rule a city?
Walk before you can run, yeah.
Yep. Her followers tried to talk her out of it.
She's pretty set in her ways.
No, I ain't going. I'm not fucking leaving.
Yep. And Ricardo says, what will you do? Stay, rule, and be a queen.
I think this was, I mentioned it at the really beginning too, like it's a smart idea to at least pump the brakes just because she mentions her people need to heal. Like she did just sack a city. Like they were at least fighting. Like some people probably got injured. They don't have any ships, right? Like they use their ships.
No food, no supplies. Yeah.
And the dragons. Most importantly, the dragons aren't ready to conquer like Aegon did back in the day.
Yeah, they can't rely on the dragons to carry them to victory.
Too little.
So yeah, all right, Kyle. What are your thoughts on Dany? I guess do you even have any? She's staying.
I mean, good that it's the last chapter, I guess, right? Like I don't know. It's not super exciting. I don't really know where else or what else she can really do. Like
the only other option would be to come over. Like, all right, let's go to war. Let's join the battle of the kingdom.
True. I think it's too early for that though. Like she didn't even have an army really.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning is like, that's what I feel like we were hoping it would go. But instead, Danny's like, nah, I'll chill. We're like, okay, fuck. Again, not that it's not interesting, but it's way more interesting when it's related to the rest of the stuff going on in the book. So I guess along those lines, Jorah isn't one of those characters where it's like, he's not like the Hound where it's like, I'm leaving King's Landing, and we see him in a Tyrion chapter, and then he shows up in an Arya chapter. It's like there's no one nearby to pick up.
Nobody's here
for Jorah to show up in a Jorah chapter. So, are we gonna see him again? Is that the end of his story?
I have no idea where he's going.
He assassin Jorah now?
I mean, I think they have to be a little worried about him. I don't think they know his intentions at this point. Is really all I could say.
Yeah. Okay.
He just got kind of disgracefully kicked out.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see Kyle in the next one for Jamie.
Jamie 9.
Jamie 9. Good call, Jeff.
Wow. It's like I know what I'm talking about.
See Kyle in the next one for that one. And we'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Thanks for listening. Give us a like, subscribe. Bye, Kyle.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you on the next time for Jamie 9. Nelson, what's your hot takes?
Got a few. I actually don't know.
I'm so mad I can't find my notes, and I had 2. One's an easy one. Dawn comes up on her. Let's just get that one out of the way. Hot word.
Yep, Dawn at the end with it rises over her city. This, I feel like I had a quote like this in a recent chapter. I forget which one it was, but I feel like I had a relatively small quote that was just like, bang, buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. It was like, no one for Arya. Okay. Dawn was one of them for Jon, and others.
Yeah.
It was the Jon chapter.
That was just I thought it was just the last chapter.
It was the Jon chapter. It was when Owen wakes Jon. He's like, Jon, the Dawn. The others were stirring.
Yeah.
Others was capital, and then no one spoke or something like that. And I'm like, bang, 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 buzzwords. Here's the Dawn one for Dany. My city, said Dany. I was looking for a house with a red door, but by night all doors are black. A red door? Missandei was puzzled. What house is this? No house, it does not matter. Dany took the younger girl by her hand. Never lie to me, Missandei. Never betray me. I never would, Missandei promised. Look, dawn comes. So, right on the heels, I guess it was just the 2. Right on the heels of the red door buzzword, we got the dawn buzzword. So, again, to me, red door is home for Dany. And I think it's like, it also plays into the big, one of my favorite theories, the whole Lemon Gate theory. Red door is the place where Dany saw lemons.
She was in Dorne the whole time.
I think she was in Dorne, so I think it might be like Sunspear or maybe even like the Water Gardens, which is like Doran's favorite place where like kids played in the pools, the Water Gardens.
Are the Danes of Dorne?
The Danes are of Dorne, yeah. They're in Starfall, which is like an island.
In the west, right?
Yeah, exactly. On the west of Dorne. So, could be that too. That's a good point. Could be Starfall would be a crazy spot for the Red Door. That's a great call. I like that. The other one I had, I kind of mentioned in the chapter and that we didn't really have anything to say about, so I'll just hit it again here in case you had anything you were holding back on. Dario's eyes. And just like the mystery Dario.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I wasn't playing around in the non-spoiler. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
Dario is worthless. Dario could die in the next chapter and nobody would bat an eye.
I think it's a fake one too. Again, I think that's a little bit of you having show creep in because Dario is literally just like, hey, you stay here, I'm leaving, you're not a character anymore. See you later.
He doesn't need to be, he still doesn't need to be a character.
But that we don't know if that's, I bet you he comes to Westeros in the books. You know what I mean? Like Dario's not getting built up this much just to get left behind in Marine. Like that's not, like I said with the whole Miro thing. George has said like, oh, Dany's not going to Westeros until she takes care of Miro. Or not Miro, Mago.
It's still going to be the same conflict with him. Like even if she loves him, like, she's either going to be like, okay, fine, you're coming on, you can continue to be my concubine, and she has to deal with, like, the double standard that we just mentioned, or she's like, no, I need to marry for alliance, like, go fuck yourself. Like, that still is 2 storylines, is that
that's
he's
true.
Dany's little side bitch, or he's staying. Like, I don't...
I guess you're right. I guess even Dany, even in the show, Dany leaving Dario behind is kind of like a good turning point for Dany being like,
yeah, I'm not doing this just for me.
I need marry. Like I'm gonna have to marry people I don't want to do. Like I had to do with his daughter. It's gonna have to happen again, and you being with me is not gonna help anything. And the other side is she doesn't want to leave Marine to get fucked up. Is Dario the best person? Probably not. But again, it's an okay way to do it in the show. Yeah. Let's see. The other thing is, again, I kind of mentioned it, just like the whole Mad Queen theme.
There's a lot of mad, and it that's probably one of what, like, she thinks to herself, how many times am I mad? Like, you think it's the seed, right? This is the seed of her actually becoming a mad queen, because if you ask yourself something enough times, you're going to start to believe it, right?
Well, I've mentioned it before, too, like, when she took Astapor, what's the command? Kill everyone above the age of 13.
No, I don't remember.
But you know what I'm saying? It was like 13 or 14. It's like young.
Well,
Like we're killing kids either way.
Yeah, well, 15-year-olds are holding swords in this world. So
I get it, but you know what I'm saying? It's borderline. It's not easy to point at and say that, oh, that's evil, because it's like the same age she was. So you can see why she went there, but still,
you got to draw a line somewhere. Like even like her cutting off hands and killing murderers. Like some people would be like, no, just put him in jail type of thing. But
so you remember the quote from Fire and Blood, or the scene from House of the Dragon I was talking about now with Daemon?
Yeah.
So I found the quote from Fire and Blood earlier.
I thought you were actually talking about what's the Alicent asking for an eye because of
an eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye, yeah. But I was going to say that just in case Kyle, like that was a big like holy fuck moment for me that I didn't want to steal from Kyle.
So here's the quote from Fire and Blood about that. This section is talking about Daemon. Daemon came back. He was master of laws, blah, 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 blah. Governance bored this warrior prince, however. He did better when King Viserys made him commander of the city watch. Finding the watchmen ill-armed and clad in oddments and rags, Daemon equipped each man with a dirk, short sword, and cudgel, armored them in black ringmail with breastplates for the officers, and gave them long golden cloaks that they might wear with pride. Ever since, the men of the city watch have been known as gold cloaks. Prince Daemon took eagerly to the work of the gold cloaks and oft prowled the alleys of King's Landing with his men. That he made the city more orderly, no man can doubt, but his discipline was a brutal one. He delighted in cutting off the hands of pickpockets, gelding rapists, and slitting the noses of thieves, and slew 3 men in street brawls during his first year as commander. Before long, the prince was well known in all the low places of King's Landing. So,
yeah, I remember that. I remember that scene.
And again, it's one of those cool scenes where they take it again. It's pretty 1-to-1 from the page. But again, people don't go around saying Daemon was like, if I say I flipped the coin, which side did it land on for Daemon? It's kind of like landed on edge.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's still spinning.
He's got a dash of both. He's got a dash of both in him. So I think that's kind of where we're at with Dany now. She's doing very similar things. Also, like, do you have your book with you?
Yep.
Just because I just read that one, I'll have you read this one.
When the last resistance had been crushed by the Unsullied and the sack had run its course, Dany entered her city. The dead were heaped so high before the broken gate that it took her freedmen near an hour to make a path for her silver. Josso's cock and the great wooden turtle had protected it. Covered with horsehides, lay abandoned within. She rode past burned buildings and broken windows, through brick streets where the gutters were choked with the stiff and swollen dead. Cheering slaves lifted blood-stained hands to her as she went by and called her mother.
Yep. Just for that one, does that remind you of anything from the show, that paragraph?
No.
This reminds me of when Jon walks into King's Landing after Dany has absolutely burned everything down. Like, he kind of comes in late. He's looking around. There's bodies everywhere. People are cheering at him and at the warriors, but he's like horrified by everything. There's literally just piles of bodies.
She doesn't seem to be horrified, though.
That's what I'm saying, right? So, and again, maybe I'm reading too far into it, but when I read that paragraph, I was seeing King's Landing, and I'm seeing her ride into King's Landing after she done all that shit, smiling like, "Oh, I just did something good here." You know what I mean? And I think
I think there's a little bit of like Dany is kind of doing all of this like on her own, right? Like I guess she has people obviously counseling her, but like Jon.
Well, no, I mean you said at the beginning of the non-spoiler. I agree with you. It's a huge theme in this chapter is the loneliness, right? It starts off with this must be how the gods feel, lonely, looking down on all their subjects, right? So 100% agree on the loneliness.
Jon, who had Ned, at least kind of like tutor him in like the ways of how things, like obviously the Starks have a different way of life and upbringing than any Targaryen would, like especially when Dany's learning from Viserys, who you could say is mad. So like like I could see Dany chalking up like, well, shit, these people had to die for me to take this. Where like Jon probably would have thought like, how can I just do the war part of it and leave like the people be? You know, it's just kind of like I think that's kind of Jon. If Jon and Dany ever come together, that's gonna be a big point of content between the two of them. Or content's not the right word. Contentious,
like a disagreement. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
like they're not
like,
gonna see eye
hey,
on that.
like no, we don't need to do this. And she's like, what do you mean? Like I need to be strong. And Jon's gonna be like, well, you can be strong by like being like a little bit merciful too. Like it's just gonna like it's different folks, different strokes.
Well, I think, Ann, you said it like when I said the whole thing about like what does that remind you of? You said Stannis, right? And I think it's like the difference between Stannis and Jon is similar to the difference between Dany and Jon. It's like Stannis is like, by the book, we're doing what's legal. Like, I don't care about human lives as I care about what's right by the book, right? Stannis is king. Yep. That's the main thing. Dany's queen. That's the main thing. I'll burn a city if that's what it takes, because by the book, I should be queen. That's what's right. That's why I'm going to do that. That's I deserve that. I think Dany comes more from a I deserve. Stannis comes from a that's just how it is, like by the book. So that's how it has to be. Like I'm just doing, like making things the way they should be.
Yeah. Stannis doesn't feel that he, like, you're right. He only is that way because he's the heir.
It doesn't seem as self-righteous as Dany's does.
Right.
Dany seems more like, I deserve this for my lineage. Stannis more seems like, no, this is just how it has to be. Why don't you guys follow the rules? Exactly.
Yeah.
And Jon, I think like you were saying for the comparison point is like, I don't care what it's supposed to be. I'm out here to save lives. What's going to end up with the best outcome? Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't think of Jon during that though, but
again, I'm not more as concerned with the Jon comparison from the show. I'm just kind of saying like Dany doesn't seem concerned. She seems to think like, okay, the ends justify the means. There's piles of bodies that they literally have to move out of the way for me to get my horse by. There's dead and dying in the streets. And then she goes past all that and decides to crucify all these people, right? And then think about it in the show. When Jon walks up by all that, he's horrified, and he's brought up to like the people, and he like lets them like drop their arms, right? And that's when Dany starts burning people. You know what I mean? It's like after...
Yeah, but it's also like... It's different experiences though too. Like Dany had to experience people dying with her on the walk. She had to witness the dead kids. Like Jon didn't have to witness any of that. Like sure, Jon had to witness the army of the undead, and that was awful in its own right. But it wasn't like he wasn't dealing with awful people along the way. Like a lot of what Dany is doing now is because of her experiences. It's not nature. It's not nature. I think it's nurture. It's like.
Yeah, it's because she's lived through.
Paying you back for everything that I've had to go through. So like, and it's like it's not like she's just killing everybody. It's not like all right, slaves, line up, you're next. She's doing it to the people that she thinks wronged her. So like, there's a lot of dead people, but just to defend Dany a little bit.
No, yeah, and I get that. And again, I'm not really much as worried about the comparison. I just feel like, especially like in the show, when Dany takes Marine, I feel like I'm just
defending her being mad. Like I don't think what she's doing is mad in her mind because if she was like, look, this is what these people did to me, X, Y, and Z, I just gave it back to them. You know, like how can anybody look at the people who hung up 163 slaves and then you did it too? It's like, I don't know. Like I wouldn't be like, all right, shit. Well, fuck, you got what you reaped.
Sure, that one I'm kind of okay with, right? But like, I guess my main point here, I guess, is in the show. I feel like there was a lot of complaint in season 8 when Dany went mad all of a sudden, right? Like went mad. I'm doing air quotes. You can't see it
for sure.
My point is, I think they didn't really show too much of this in the show. You're right that they did show her crucifying people, but like when she took Marine, did they show her like when she took acid pour, it was a badass thing. She has the dragons kill everybody. It's a cool moment in the books too. But I think the books do also show that it's a little more borderline. Like then, it's not like a hero moment. That she is slaughtering people. I think the books definitely go a lot into that in this chapter, and I feel like Marine is not taken like that. It's like a hero again. It's a hero moment. Jorah and Barrett. I don't who goes in the sewers. Somebody goes in the sewers in Marine. I forget.
It's Grey Worm, I think.
I think you're right. But it's like again, it's a hero moment. There's really
Grey Worm goes and talks to the slaves about like, hey, we're gonna free you.
You're right. You're right. Exactly. They sneak in and give them all like the weapons in the bathhouse or whatever, and they're like, we got to win this ourselves type thing. And it's a hero moment. I don't feel like they show as much of the war and death and destruction side and show that Dany's okay with it. You're right. It's a good point. I didn't think about this, that Dany does crucify all those people in the show too, which does kind of is a hint to it. I guess
I don't even remember that in the show.
Because Hizdar comes and begs to like take his dad down.
Right.
He's like, please let me take my dad down. I think that's the thing that happens in the show.
It's not a slow burn to the bells.
I guess my point is, I think if they would have maybe shown that when Dany's walking into Marine, she's like, there's piles of bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
But she's like happy and like glad about it. And then she like, even after seeing the piles of bodies, then she tells the masters to be crucified. It's like, that's what I just saw isn't enough. More of you are going to be, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I think the big difference, I think the thing in the show is that, you know, when the first dragon died, like she was sad, but like it didn't like break her, right? Like I don't even know if she like cried. And even when like when bad stuff was happening to her, like she was upset, but it wasn't to the point where it was like,
that's a good point.
Like she's throwing chairs and stuff. Like there was never like any like punch a wall type of thing, where now it's like, up, Missandei's head goes off and it's just like all hell broke loose. Like there was no slow burn. Like there was never any inkling of like, oh shit, like she might be crazy, like hold back. Like don't say that to her right now because she might be crazy. That's the problem with what the show did. Like they needed her to like freak out at Jon at some point, like not just like, oh, bend the knee type of thing.
Yeah,
oh,
not
you're
have
gonna
one
bend the knee?
awkward
Then,
conversation. Yeah, exactly.
She should have been like fucking screaming in the council chamber on Dragonstone one time, like flipping shit, and then everyone would be like, oh shit, like what did we bring here? But they didn't do that.
And again,
So,
I kind of feel bad for Dave and Dan about that, because I can see like on paper it makes sense. Like, oh, look at all Dany's lost. It makes sense why she's gonna go a little overboard when she attacks King's Landing. Yeah. Jorah, Melisandre, the dragons, the whole Jon reveal. But then like you're right, that she just like kind of gets like more angry.
She just kind of lives through it.
Her hair is a little bit more out of place in each scene, but like she's not acting crazier until that one moment.
When the first dragon took the spear, she should have like let out like a ghastly scream, like something like just pure raw hatred emotion.
Yeah.
Like that's her child, right? Like we've heard it all the time. Like this is my child, this is my child.
Yeah.
And like she just kind of watched it die and then flew off.
And once Jorah died, like we're not giving Sansa side eyes anymore. We're just fucking snapping at everything she fucking says. Like we're pissed now, and it's our way or the highway. I'm the queen. We're doing what I say. I still have a dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, we're not touching hands and smirking.
Like Sansa's like, oh, the Northmen need to rest, and Dany's like, gives her like a side eye, like, wait, what? And like they have like no, Dany is erupting and be like, your fucking men need to rest. No, it's my fucking turn now. Like look at what I've lost. Yeah, like. I think they could have shown it better. But again, on paper, I think all the things that built up to it, Jorah, Missandei, dragons, like it's enough to make her go crazy. It just, they didn't show it enough.
And again, like it might have been to the point where, like, say in the books, like she does what she does and she burns the fucking city down. She's got a track record where like, no, we'll start over type of thing. Like we'll start.
I think that's a great point. That's a great way to like bring it back to the chapter. The whole, she has a track record. I don't think in the show they showed that she really has a track record of doing what needs, like whatever means necessary, right? It's kind of like whatever means necessary.
I feel like it's so hard in the show. Like they didn't spend enough, obviously.
And I think this chapter kind of shows that.
I'll just do really quick back to like asked for, like honestly, if I'm watching the show, like I could probably ask 10 people what happened and asked for in the show, and they have no clue, right? Because it's just like they pick up the Unsullied and they bounced, right? Like I don't think, like
I don't know. I feel like that's the top 10 moment in Game of Thrones. That whole
right.
The show
but
when
what I'm
Dany's
saying
like,
is, do you know that that's at asked for? That's my point. Is that like the details of, sure, like if you get reminded, like, oh, when she took the Unsullied, like what crazy line did she say? Yes, but you don't know that like that's along the lines of like this is asked for. Like I feel like the timeline of how she gets the Marine, like it's just like so quick. They're like, oh, like they kill the champion right out in the, like Dario kills that, and then bam, like that's it. And Yunkai, like we move on. We're in Marine, like next scene type of thing, where it's just like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, I mean, it's the same in the books though. Like this is chapter 6
right,
for Dany.
But now we're lingering. We're gonna linger here too, which like Marine, like Yunkai, she goes to the Dothraki Sea, and then fuck it, I'm out. Like I don't know. Like
again, I like some of the Marine stuff, but I don't like Dany as a character because it's way more interesting when characters are intertwined. And again, towards the end of Dance, we're kind of getting there, right? Barristan becomes a POV towards the end of Dance. Tyrion's outside.
There's two books. Like
that's the other thing is, and I wish I could tell Kyle that like this is the last Dany chapter in this book, but there are no Dany chapters in the next book. So this is the last Dany chapter that we're gonna have for a year, like legit. We're not going to have
Plus.
another Dany chapter for a year.
But yeah, like, I don't know, the Sons of the Harpy, like, the biggest thing with her in the show was the Sons of the Harpy, right? Dealing with the Sons of the Harpy. And then once she, like, basically is going to, like, melt the owners of the Harpies, or, like, the Great Masters, are like, all right, fuck it, like, you win.
Yeah, halfway through Dance, they're going to have the fighting pit thing. Drogon's going to show up and take her off. And that's when George kind of got into a writing slump the first time. He's talked about this in interviews. And he's like, basically, I was trying to I had to explain what happened in Marine, but Dany wasn't in Marine anymore. So making Barristan, like, he was like, how do I make Tyrion get here earlier, or make Victarion get here earlier, or something? But making Barristan a POV chapter ended up being how he solved that problem.
Yeah.
But
all right, are we lingering? I don't even know. What do we? What else
we're
you got?
super lingering. I don't have a note with this one. Let me just read the quote and it'll come to me. The truth is, I wanted to watch you for a time before pledging you my sword, to make certain you were not my father's daughter. If she was not her father's daughter, who was she? Oh yeah, that's why I had this quote.
Different parents. She's a Dane.
What have I told you before? I think it's possible Dany is Rhaegar and Lyanna's child, not
John.
John, because Dany just has all these like Rhaegar connections. So when she said like if she was not her father's daughter, who was she?
Yeah,
Rhaegar's
she's her brother.
Daughter.
She's her brother's daughter.
Exactly. It's kind of where I'm getting at with that one. And
that's an interesting line. I'd bite on that more than I would on Dario being purple-eyed.
And that goes into the other thing. When Barristan shows up, and again, I think that's weird why Barristan shows up and he's like, hey, I know things. Hey, okay, never mind. See you later. We'll talk later. Like, doesn't really tell her anything.
You think he's going to be like, yeah, actually, you're Rhaegar's
daughter?
Well,
one of the things he says there, when she's like, there must have been some good, he gives her this like weird family tree for no reason. Again, kind of out of nowhere. But the way he gives it, I think, is weird. He says, there must have been some good. Aerys, your dad, yes. His dad, yes. Your dad's Jaehaerys' brother, Duncan the Small, yes. Their father, Egg, yes. Plus your mother, Rhaella, and Rhaegar most of all. So like her mother and brother are the last two.
I'm not following you there at all.
So
I think it's just easy to follow the hierarchy line.
Go to the quote.
Like, oh yeah, there's also these people.
I don't have the exact quote in front of me. Like, go to the quote. Like, the way he says it, he says a bunch of names, but he doesn't actually say her mom's name. He says, and your brother and Rhaegar. Okay. Or and your mother and Rhaegar, or something like that.
But she's not the mother, then Lyanna's not a Targaryen, so there's no flip to the coin, is what I'm saying.
But he starts off with her father. So you think he would be like, your father and your mother, your grandfather, their father.
So why go back to Rhaegar?
At the end, he says, your mother and Rhaegar.
There is, your grace, of him, and those who came before him, your grandfather Jaehaerys, and his brother, their father Aegon, your mother, and Rhaegar, him most of all.
Your mother and Rhaegar. So again, what's my theory here? Dany is Rhaegar and Lyanna's daughter, and there's no name for the mother when he's dropping a lot of other Targaryen names here. He could say, oh, Rhaella and Rhaegar, but he says your mother and Rhaegar. Again, what I'm hinting at is your mother and your father.
I get it.
It's kind of how not that Barristan knows that, but it's more of like a literary wink from George, right? Barristan wouldn't know this, but
I get I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Again, maybe that's a stretch. Maybe I'm getting a little Mr. Or Mrs. Incredible on that one.
But the question, just to go back, there is some good to be said of my father, surely. Like the good, like as it pertains to your mother, like it could have been a good side of him. Like he picked a good spouse type of thing. Like she was a good match. And then,
sure, but he says mother Rhaegar later. Like mother's on the list just later. And again, I think I'm just kind of.
That's what I'm saying.
Again, I know it's a stretch. I'm just relating that to the other quote when she's like, "If I'm not my father's daughter, if she was not her father's daughter, who was she?" From
what I take from this is that there was a lot of Targaryens that Barristan dealt with that had good in them. There's one mention. There's one name that's not mentioned.
Who?
Viserys isn't mentioned.
Viserys, sure. Well, I mean, he was a little kid.
No, look, I don't give a shit. The point is, you can't just spit on mine. He's talking about those who had good in them. The one mentioned is Viserys, who isn't mentioned, so he was the dickhead. Like
I agree. I mean, and Barristan straight up said that to her earlier. My point is, I think that quote's weird because of the order. He goes father, grandfather, great uncle, great grandfather, and then jumps back to mother brother. Like I would think mother would be with father.
Again, I'm taking that more of like we care about the paternal order, and like, yeah, wait, well, your mother was
again,
good too.
That's a really good point. Makes total sense. I'm just thinking maybe it's just again. I know it's a stretch.
Yeah,
but we're pairing mother without giving her a name with Rhaegar. So I think it might be a hint that mother and Rhaegar we're actually talking about Lyanna. And again, Barristan's not talking about Lyanna, but like it's like a wink from George.
Yeah,
I know it's a stretch.
I think that just fucks everything up. Like I've already mapped
I don't
out.
Think about it right now. We're going too long, but you're right.
I've already solved Game of Thrones for you, and that goes against how I
we have to go back to the drawing board pretty much to the beginning if that's true. Yeah, agreed. I mentioned this in the non-spoiler. Next one, I talked about this a little bit in the non-spoiler. Jorah says that Varys wanted Dany watched but not harmed. I was going to kind of remind Kyle that that Arya saw Varys in Illyrio in the Dragon Skull room talking about Dany stuff early on, which should have that's a hard thing to remember.
I feel like if you brought it up to Kyle, he would remember it.
I agree, but I think it kind of points to Dany's involved with Varys. But then where does Kyle go from there? There's not much else to go on, which is why I kind of didn't want to bring it up, right? But I think it's a good point. I wonder if this is kind of George, kind of maybe fixing mistakes, retrospectively or late in the game, because it doesn't really make sense that Varys would have ordered people to kill Dany after working so hard to get this whole Dany thing in motion, right?
Right.
So
unless again, like, it was all a setup. Like, imagine like a setup for a setup. Like, yo, there's gonna be this poisoner. You need to stop it to gain her trust, type of thing.
That's true. And then you throw Fagon in there, and everything gets even more confusing. So it's like, who even knows what Varys actually wants, right? So, but another quote I have: Dany's dreams were dark that night, and she woke 3 times from half-remembered nightmares.
Oh, that was it. The moonlight. I skipped right over it with Kyle. Moonlight's on her ass.
I don't know if that's something we should talk about with Kyle. I feel like Kyle shouldn't know that, but
no, that's why I skipped over it. He has no clue. I mean, he's like a no till that's like the last chapter of the book.
Again, I don't know if this is a confirmed thing. I think this is definitely a theory type thing, but I feel like it is weird now that I'm looking out for it, because I've never done a full read through where I've looked out for this. But it is weird how many times like moonlight shining on someone who's having some dream problems,
like a bad dream. Yeah,
the biggest one I think is Jaime when he has his crazy him and Brienne fighting naked with flaming swords under Castle Rock after all the Lannisters were yelling at him when he's fighting against like Rhaegar and all the Kingsguard. But like that is a crazy. Right. There's so much to that dream. It's literally like half the chapter. And he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, my head was on a weirwood stump in the moonlight." And it's like, okay, there's a lot of shit going on. Cat has dreams in the moonlight.
You just got gods fighting over yourself right now.
So definitely a weird thing. Who knows what it means, but cool nonetheless. Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was the last thing I had.
All right. Let's wrap her up.
Yeah. Long one. If anybody's still listening, long episode. Thanks for listening this far. Like, subscribe.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of support recently. A lot of new subscribers, a lot of views. So appreciate it. If you're listening and not subscribing, hit that button. It would help us out. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Forward. What is it, Jeff?
Jaime 9.
All right. See you guys then.
Bye.